Hi there, I'm Monica Lindstrom, and I'm here to give you just a quick update on what's going on in the State versus Marissa Devault trial. Now, you might remember that this trial is a death penalty case, and the allegations are that Marissa Devault premeditatedly killed her husband while he was sleeping with the hammer. You might have also heard about this trial as the hammer killing or the hammer trial. Now, yesterday morning, I was in the courtroom and we had the forensic pathologist testify and explain what she did during the autopsy. She also talked about what the actual cause of death was, which she said was a pulmonary embolism. Talking and explaining about the pulmonary embolism, she said it typically comes from head injuries, and in her opinion, the embolism in this case did in fact come from his head injuries that Marissa Devault had given him with the hammer. So essentially the cause of death was Marissa Devault, or at least the consequences of her actions. Now, after the forensic pathologist got off the stand, the judge decided to take an early lunch. And at that time, he had a discussion with the lawyers, and it was not a happy discussion. He was very, very upset. He chastised the lawyers about playing games and that he was very, very tired of the fact that they were playing games. I mean, he said that term several times. What had prompted it this time was that the state had filed a motion to reconsider a ruling that he made last week. He was upset that the state waited until now to file that motion when it should have filed the motion last week. Part of the problem is that the defense finished their cross-examination of the witness and based their entire cross-examination on the ruling of the judge. So the judge says now to turn around and review that ruling essentially wouldn't make sense, because then he'd have to bring the witness back and the defense would have to start all over. He would have to instruct the jury to disregard the previous testimony and only listen to this testimony this time. Very confusing. The judge was extremely upset. In fact, he went so far as to say that the attorneys were being unprofessional, and he refuses to even teach classes for the state bar anymore on professionalism because he said it just does no good. The attorneys don't listen, and the state bar doesn't do anything about it when they hear or when it hears about a lawyer being unprofessional. Wow. Very interesting. I know a lot of people would have loved to have this judge on the Arias case instead of Judge Stevens because they felt that she was a pushover. I didn't think so, but I can see why people would much rather have Judge Steinle than her. Be that as it may, I left at the lunch break. However, Stanley Cook then took the stand to testify about his observations and what had happened. Now, if you remember, he was the roommate that lived with Marissa Devault and her husband, and he was there when the killing took place. Now, the prosecution and the defense knew before trial that he had suffered some organic brain damage and he had difficulties remembering. So when he got up on the stand, he couldn't remember anything. I find it fascinating that he remembers things back then. At that time, he remembered things at the time of the killing. Then he's given immunity, and now that he has immunity, he can't remember anything. I think that's very telling and goes to his credibility. But it also surprises me that we haven't heard whether the state and or the defense had recorded a deposition of his testimony to show the jury in the event that his memory gets worse. I haven't heard anything about that. That's something I would have thought that they would have done. So if his memory got worse, they could very clearly show the jury the testimony on the videotape, but I haven't heard anything about that so far. So I will continue to keep you updated. You can go ahead and go to my website at monicalindstrom.com. That's LINDSTROM.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Monica Lindstrom. And I'm also on Google+, the little plus symbol, Monica Lindstrom, and also on Facebook. And for updates on this trial and others, such as the Oscar Pistorius case that we just talked about on HLN today, go ahead and stay tuned, and I'll keep you up to date. Until then, take care.